isn't it nice when you don't have to worry about something because someone or an object is there in your life to help make things a bit easier? So I recently invested in an Instapot, which has preset functions. So I can put my cooking and I can forget all about it. And that's one huge load off my mind because there's so many other things to worry about all the time. I love my air purifier because, the air is very unhealthy and I don't need to think about it. I know that this machine is taking care of my well-being. And similarly, it's lovely when you have excellent colleagues who, back you up and do great work. And we have our producer who does an excellent job with this podcast. I never have to worry. I never have to think about things. And that's a great feeling. So I always feel the same when I think about insurance, whether it's for a car or for my health or for my house. I'm a bit of an insurance maniac. So I always have to get the travel insurance. I have to get the baggage insurance. I recently got T-shirts imported from the US and I had to get damage insurance for that. And I like that feeling that I don't have to worry about this thing. It's just a seamless, easy process. However, recently, a friend's mom had to be hospitalized because of lung issues as soon as the pollution season started. And when we got there, we're waiting, and the hospital receptionist looks at the insurance and says, yeah, you can't get a private room. And my friend is like, what do you mean? And they said, no, you're not eligible for a private room. You should have opted for this and you should have opted for that. And essentially the room that they wanted, they couldn't get through their insurance coverage. And I looked at him and I said, didn't you read this? And he said, who reads this kind of print? I mean, which under 30-year-old is going to go through so many pages? And I'm like, well, I do. This is Sonalia Charji, and you are listening to Health Well, a podcast that hopes to leave you better informed as well as equipped with all the resources that you need to make the right decisions for your well-being. So like I said, I have a bit of a itch when it comes to insurances, and I have 3 health insurances. I'm not sure if I should say that out loud, but I did. I have one which my mother had got a long time ago. I have a corporate one, and I have a private one so that if I ever want to get something done that I don't want my family to know about, I can. And I really go through the fine print. I really like to go through it, but I have noticed that a lot of my friends never ever read the insurances that are available to them, especially through their companies. To be honest, even I haven't read that particular one too much. But they don't read it and they don't avail it. So there are a whole bunch of services which they don't know that they're, eligible to get covered for. And sometimes when I ask them, they say things like, but it doesn't cover the things I need. I'm stressed. I want to go to a therapist. It doesn't cover it. I can't go through all this paperwork. I'm earning enough, so I might as well just pay. Which is really funny to me that you're paying for a service that's going to discount your well-being treatment, your health treatment, and you would rather pay out of your own pocket than go through that process of making sure you're covered for free. It's a bit of an irony. And I really thought then that, with the year coming up, everyone comes up with health resolutions and new things to do. I have a couple of colleagues and friends who have decided we are going to invest in health insurance. And it is that time when health is in focus. And I really wanted to look at the changing needs of health insurance today, especially when it comes to the younger generation. And to help us understand a bit more about this change in expectations from insurance, we have Tarun Mathur, who is the co-founder and the CBO at PolicyBazaar.com. Hi, Tarun, how are you?
I'm Ghuznali. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you so much for coming. Um, I I started this by admitting my insurance insanity, and but I know I care about it. I'm not sure if everyone else, particularly those between 20 to 30, care so much, especially for the one coming from their workplace. Do you think Gen Z has much interest in workplace health insurance?
See, I think it's quite generic to kind of label them as Gen Z, because Gen Z's behaviors vary from the top 10 cities to the next 30. And I think it's more about exposure to someone who's been at a hospital. Like you said that your friend was in the hospital, so you learned about room rent cappings, etc. And I think we're all a summation of how what we're exposed to. And but I do feel that the new age is more inquisitive, of course, and they have found out the resources to do a lot of research that I think the guys before them aren't that adept to do. So while we label them as a bit capricious, I think they research a lot, and they look at all the avenues. For example, when you buy a health insurance, a group health insurance for your company from Policy Bazaar, we've started using SMSs and links and app notifications just to tell people the top 10 features or the top 10 things they should know about. Now, uh, I have seen the older Republic doesn't kind of go through it, but the younger ones do read about it. They ask a lot of questions. They point out all the spelling mistakes, just saying. So, which means they're far more involved. And like you
Yeah.
mentioned that you yourself didn't read the company's insurances because a lot of people feel that because they can't change it, and it's a larger decision being taken by at let's say a corporate level, maybe it doesn't make sense. Not realizing that they are the eventual users of the insurance. And I
Mhm.
come from the same camp that you do, Sonali. I also have three insurances. Of course, for me,
Amazing.
it's supposed to be that way, right? Because
Yeah.
you don't preach to the choir. But see, I think the new age people are also making it quite a condition to join companies by looking at what health coverage is there.
Right. Do you think it would impact where they choose to work? Because a lot of people do care about things like transport or safety or a drop back home. But you think the insurance being offered to employees, particularly the younger ones, could be a deciding factor?
Well, comparison of two different companies basis their coverages is not such a big factor. But what is a factor is whether there's insurance or not. For example, if you go and work for a very early stage startup, which does not have the benefit of healthcare, then that is seen as a, for the loss of a better word, a downgrade in the salary if you're joining them, right? Because then you need to kind of take care of your medical expenses on your own. Uh, and that can be a deciding factor a lot of times because see, and especially in ailing families. So and this is not the right thing to say, but if somebody's working in a company, has their parents covered, and there's some treatment going on, for them it's a harder decision to take to change their insurance to, let's say, move to a startup which only has, let's say, insurance for the nuclear families and not for parents. So that then becomes a deciding factor. uh, but if you look at it outside, and India stays about at least about 3-4 years away from social security, it is a deciding factor on what benefits are offered, whether or not they're going to take care of dental, whether they're going to take care of cosmetic, whether they're going to take care of knee replacements, etc. Are there any cappings, like you mentioned, in terms of room rents? So I think the dialogue started, and I think we are a couple of years behind in this respect. But the way that health insurance is catching up in India, the way it's the number of cashless treatments are increasing versus self-funded. I think it's only going to be a matter of months or years where we actually have that as a deciding factor for somebody joining a company or not.
Yeah. And actually, I think it does play into the fact that, health issues are going up as well. Not only do we know what to watch out for, there's a lot of early diagnosis and, all these non-communicable diseases are on the rise. So it does make sense that people are wanting to be covered. But so that when I think of a health insurance, there are a couple of things that really matter to me. The first is, what is the policy actually offering me? And so for a young person, are there certain things that you might have noticed that they're looking for?
I think one largely talked about subject is that of mental health. Now, it's a bit of a conundrum because a lot of times it's been asked whether it's covered or not. However, when you provide for it, it doesn't get used. And I'll explain why this is a very challenging situation. See, for any claim to happen, you have to report it to an insurance company. That data exists with the insurance company and with the HR teams. Now, somebody who's going through therapy does not want to always disclose that they're going through therapy. Yeah. I
Yeah.
think I did hear you say that you've got your own policies that if you don't want your parents to know that you've got something, you don't,
I
right?
have my secret insurance that's now out in the
Yes.
public.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I think, and because mental wellness is or other mental illness isn't spoken about that openly, and it's a bit embarrassing to talk about it. It's still moving out of the taboo phase to be an openly accepted phase. I think it'll take some sort of solutioning for it to happen, which is why,
Mhm.
and this is a very very common thing. It's a great thing. So you see, when you buy health insurance policy bazaar, is well mental wellness covered? Yes, it is. Is it claimed? Absolutely not. But we started providing for therapists who you could call at any point in time without any information flowing to anybody in HR, to us, or to the insurance company. It's a service that was provided. It was just paid for basis a fixed seat model. So I don't even know how many hours of it was used. Uh, but their engagement started because it was kept mum. We offer that to all our corporates, and that hotline is increasing every month. Every month we have to hire more and more therapists to put on the line, and
Is there some figures on how many people are reaching out for this?
we have desperately tried to stay away from statistics, but I can tell you that in if you look at the total number of lives we have per employee, I think every 15th employee is using that service. So that's the only statistic I have realistically.
Right. Right.
Uh, but it but that's a lot.
Mm.
Uh, that's a lot. It means that you have a very high rate of interest when it comes to talking to someone, and for the sake of this to succeed, I don't want stats out there. And all that is required to know is that it works, it's being used, because if you put those stats forward, I think that it'll probably might dissuade someone to kind of do it. But all I've
Mm.
understood that is that people like their secrecy, people like they don't want it to be in the open, and as long as companies can cater to that bit, it will work out.
Yeah. So I knew someone who was constantly asking why health insurance can't cover gym memberships because she's like, this is basically my health. I want it to be covered. I'm obese. I want to lose weight. Do you think that matters now, the fitness aspect? Because everyone is really wanting to maintain a healthy weight and a good diet. Um, is that something that could ever be in an insurance or
See,
should be?
it's a commercial product. Anything can be put inside as long as you're okay to afford the premiums, right?
Mm.
And let me explain. Uh, Insurance is a community instrument, right? So the more and more features you add, depending on the probability of an event, it will get used or not used. Are there gym memberships available in plans? Yes, they are. So she hasn't researched enough. Are there dietitians present in plans? Yes, they are. Again, I don't want to kind of make this an advertising forum, but whoever's bought corporate insurance from Policy Bazaar has these features
Mm.
available through an app, right? But why is it they're not popularized a lot? Because the usage, if it goes too high, then the cost also becomes a problem. Now,
Mm.
is fitness covered? Yes, it is. In core insurance, the products that you would have bought, let's say 15 to 20 years back, it is not true for them. But the new age plans, they have it all covered. In fact, we actually like to subscribe to it because anybody who's keeping themselves fit is going to end up less in the hospital. That correlation is very clear, right? Anybody who has access to doctors 24/7 ends up in a hospital less. Now, this is a very interesting story.
Mm.
We started realizing that a lot of other claims that used to happen in our policies were single day hospitalizations, right? Which means only
Mhm.
24 hours you were hospitalized and then
Mhm.
you were discharged. Let me tell you a large use case. At 11:30 in the night, if my son is not well and he's puking, I have two options. A, I will call my family doctor. or B, I will go to the emergency room of the closest hospital, right? Because we're nuclear families, we are mostly living outside of our towns, and we've shifted to, let's say, the Gurgaons and the Mumbais and the Bangalore's. We don't have a family doctor left with us anymore, right? And even then, I don't think I'd be very comfortable calling them at 11:30 in the night, because they have a life too.
Yeah.
But I am quite okay walking up to the ER room. The ER room, the doctor will come in, they will give him an injection, or they will give him some medicine, and they say, I need to now observe him for 24 hours, and voila, you have hospitalization. And it's quite traumatic to be in a hospital, huh? So it's not about comfort. Uh,
Yeah. And
and
it's
I've
also
been there.
unhealthy at times. You pick up so many infections.
You have infections, you're taking a kid to a ER room, there's so many beeps and loud noises and injured people. It's not a great experience, right? Going to a hospital. And now what we started doing is we started giving free doctor consult with our policies, right? And I know I used this once. I was traveling and I called up the doctor and I told same example that my son's having a very big having a tummy ache and he's not well and he's puking. He says, okay, give him this medicine. Gave the medicine, and then doctor called back after 20 minutes and said, is it subsided now? I said, yes, it's subsided. So he just saved me a trip to a hospital by using the access to telemedicine. Now,
Mhm.
I think that's the beauty of, or I think that's the best part I like about the acceptability of a particular product by the Gen Z. They are okay engaging with doctors online. They don't feel like somebody from my generation that it's very important to meet with the patient or very important to meet with the doctor. They're able to follow, whatever let's say treatments are there given online. So I think I think life is becoming smarter, and you need to become smarter with it. Insurance is also getting smarter, and
Yeah.
these coverages are there. So
Yeah.
the basic point I want to understand, to kind of everybody to get, is that everything is available in insurance. The price does vary as you keep adding
Mm.
insurance.
Yeah. Yeah. I also really like those insurances. It's funny, like people talk about cakes, like I like cakes with a chocolate frosting. I talk about insurance like this. But I really like those that have tailored preventive health packages.
Yeah.
So I love knowing that as a young woman, it's not that regular stuff, because the regular packages, I mean, yeah, sure, my blood sugar, thyroid, I want to know, but I also want to know a bit more, the results of certain specifics to my age and my gender. And I really like an insurance that can be that personalized. Do you have any thoughts on that?
See, anything that's personalized is always more accepted, more loved than anything else. There are, and I think that insurance hasn't done a great job there. I'll be transparent, right? I think there a lot can be done, basis gender, basis where you are located, basis any place where you're susceptible to a little more. Like a Delhi height has a far bigger problem with pollution right now than somebody sitting in Mumbai. So would you not want something extra to kind of in terms of preventive or in terms of diagnostics for the lungs? Whereas in Mumbai, there is a lot of moisture, there's a lot of heat, you lose a lot of water. So wouldn't you have something around that? I think that customization is missing right now.
Mhm.
But I do feel that the newer generation, the new set of people will uh, provoke that thought into the companies to kind of build for
Yeah.
it. And
Yeah.
it's also logical. You see, the moment you start investigating something a little more, you're able to understand its behavior a little more, and hence be able to design packages. So it actually helps save money in the long run for insurance companies than the
Mhm.
other way around. But yes, we haven't done a good job of it, and I think there's a lot that can be done.
Yeah. I would love to have an insurance that covers somebody who's traveling a lot, or somebody who's a journalist, or somebody like me who spends all her time in hospitals. Um, Speaking of hospitals, I once asked a very young doctor, about 24 year old, about a couple of months ago. I asked her, if you had to get health insurance, what would you get? And she said, I want an insurance coverage where the redeeming process is the most simplest possible, because as sitting in a hospital, she's constantly seeing people struggle. So she was giving an example of a patient whose mother had been admitted into the ventilator for heart failure. And the insurance company asked for the last 10 years of prescriptions, which the poor son didn't have, because mommy had kept it very nicely away in some locker somewhere. And it was very inconvenient in that moment, for that first clearance to come from the company, to run around getting all these prescriptions and so on. and you can't ask the patient because they're not well. So that is actually something which I also really look for in an insurance. Like, what is the claims process like? Um, is it getting easier? Do you think this is something that insurance providers are making, or is there something new in the market?
See, is the claims process getting easier? Yes. Is it becoming tougher for the insurance companies? Yes. You see, Sonali, the fact of the matter is, as long as you have liars, there will always be somebody who's going to check for cheating, right? It's the basic law. Now, what's started happening is, and this is a tussle between insurance and hospitals. And but I can tell you, I've seen the data, and we see a lot of claims. And when COVID happened, the average severity of the claims went up from about 30,000 to about 50,000 rupees, and then up to about 70,000 rupees. When COVID ended, it didn't come down. Why? See, in COVID, a lot of times you used to see a lot of inflated bills because there were a lot of gloves involved in procedures and a lot of hand sanitizing procedures. I don't think people are sanitizing hands anymore. Also, I think hospitals have started, adding standard amount of gloves and sanitizers to their bills just to inflate them. To be quite honest, because I saw this one very hilarious invoice from a hospital which had a half an hour treatment, and there were 26 glove changes. So I'm wondering who operated. If
Yeah.
you were just changing gloves, and if it's a fun competition, we should try it sometime. But if you're taking 26 pairs of gloves and changing them, when did you actually do the procedure?
Yeah.
So, as long as that happens, there will be a lot of investigation around claims that seem suspicious to the insurance companies. And
Mhm.
many a times we've found a lot of fraud that exists. For example, people buy policies for sick people, right? Now, you and I, we bought our policies today because we know that, some stage we might need them. But what happens a lot more often is that you buy a policy for someone who's already in a bad state, and don't declare that they're in a bad state, which means that somewhere you and I will pay for the premium that gets charged because of all this fraud. So I
Mhm.
also want life to be fair to you and me. So I think, will the claims process get any better for the claimant who's not lying, for the claimant who's being genuine, for the claimant who understands it? I think the journeys have become very, very smooth. I think the third party administrators, the TPAs in our country, have done a fantastic job. The insurers have done a fantastic job. But I think that it's not done. And I do think that there is a lot of trouble. I can see so many times I get escalations from our own consumers saying that, I got a pre-authorization of 1 lakh rupees, but when the bill came in, it did not get paid. And there's a lot of documentation requirement. I think that, yes, we need to kind of work on the back end to kind of make the legwork a lot more easier than it is today. And
Yeah.
not just hide behind this whole farce of, not the farce, but, the fact of fraud. I think we have to become more intelligent about it.
Right. And like we've been talking about people who are interested in health insurance, but there's also a huge segment out there that's not interested or believes insurance to be a money making scam. And that is also propagated a lot through social media and WhatsApp and um, people who've had bad experiences. And one of the things that I always read is you don't need insurance at a young age. Get it when you're 50 or get it when you're 60. And I remember, like, somebody said, "Why do you have three?" And I said, "Well, I'm middle aged." And they said, "No, you're not middle aged. You're just 36. What do you mean middle aged? You're young." I said, "Yeah, I'm young in terms of modern medicine, that, through medicine, I can be kept alive till 90. But biologically, I am heading towards middle age with my cells and my physical body. And I don't understand why I shouldn't have health insurance at a younger age. I could fall. I mean, there's no guarantee when you're going to fall sick. Um, do you think that that's important to start, insurances and to understand insurances from a very young age?
Yes, I think I agree with the second part a little more. I think it's important to understand insurance at an
Mhm.
earlier age. I think it's sad that in our education system we don't have anything around insurance, especially around insurance protection. I remember in class 11th and 12th they taught me about shares and debentures and investments and fixed deposits, but not once did they tell me about protection. And this is not just about hospitalization. I'm going to also jump to a topic of term life insurance and health insurance. You see, Sonali, what people don't understand is that any one event can almost destroy many lives. Like, if the breadwinner of a family dies, let's say the breadwinner used to get 10 lakh rupees into the household, and let's say he has savings of 20 lakh rupees, they start believing that they don't need insurance. But he was earning 10 lakh rupees, which the family was used to. After his demise, uh, how many years does the family have? Two by pure maths, four by reducing their lifestyle, and six or eight by drastically reducing the lifestyle, going and living in a chawl, etc., etc. So I beg the question: what is good enough insurance? Is it not
Yeah.
required at a younger age? Can accidents not happen? Accidents do happen. The accidental mortality of
Mm.
a younger guy and older guy is almost the same. In fact, more in the case of younger, because you are roaming around the streets a lot more. You're riding bicycles and riding scooters rather than cars, which are safer, or transportation system in the cities is not that great. Similarly, in health insurance, one bad disease at any age can just plunder all the money you might have saved up. And in India, luckily for us, we have a lot of intergenerational wealth that flows through, right? Your parents will spend any amount of money to solve for their kids' illness. It's just so if the treatment is in America, it'll be done in America. So, but one health insurance, which costs, let's say, for a for a for a for a young adult, let's say in between 28 to 32, will cost you about 8,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, versus the lakhs and lakhs of rupees that you will spend. So I think the real problem here is not realization. I think or understanding. I think it's the lack of informing people in time, in school, in colleges, exactly what insurance and in protection, more importantly, in insurance is.
Yeah, yeah, no, I agree. My last thing is just, you run a company as well. If you had to get insurance for your younger employees, are there certain things that you would make sure is there in the policy?
Yes, I would think so. You see, right now, out of pocket expenses is about 60 to 65% in India, right? Not covered under insurance. And it remains our endeavor to kind of put more and more of these uh, coverages inside the gamut of insurance, whether it is through the provider, which is the insurance company, or through another provider for my employees. And we've seen that that works. A lot of times, accidental issues can just be solved by a few thousand rupees, which can be paid to a person. It can be done by telemedicine, like I mentioned. It can be done through diagnostics. I'm not such a big fan of very often getting your health checkups done, because the exposure to a lot of the radiation is not good for people. At least that's my own personal belief. So it's not so much, but these diagnostics are available to people. I think a lot has to be done around mental wellness, which we spoke about earlier. So I think these are becoming more and more important for a younger workforce. But that doesn't mean that they're absolutely protected from the larger illnesses. I think everybody should have an exigency cover, which means that even if you don't have your base health insurance, buy a top up plan that at least covers you after 2 lakh rupees to about 1 crore rupees, because if something happens, it's going to be so drastic that you'll need a big one. Up to 2 lakh rupees you will get, like in larger cities, with your relatives or through your friends, you'll be able to muster up some amount of money. But beyond that, you won't be able to. So, and if something large happens, you should be covered for it. So I always drive a lot of messaging around top up plans and around OPD and around mental wellness. And I think with these three, mostly they're covered.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing everything. Thank you. Is there anything you'd like to say to just wind up?
Oh, I resonate with the point where we think that everybody should buy insurance young, whether it is life insurance or health insurance, and more that message can be thrown out. I think it'll be better for everybody, the economy, the society, and for social security. But thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Tara. You know, the reason I actually did this episode and I really wanted to do it is just to get a sense of what's out there for young people in health insurance today. And actually, I didn't know that there are insurances that have gym memberships. So I might consider a fourth one now. But it's good to be aware. That's all I really wanted to bring out with this episode is don't look down upon it. Don't think it's just some boring document that comes with your employee welcome back. It's good to know what you are eligible for. It's good to know how to use it because you really never know when it comes at use. I have used all two of mine. I haven't used my company one yet, but I have used two of mine and they were extremely helpful. And I'm glad I had taken that time out to look at what I was entitled to and make those choices. And I do know I had a couple of points even customized according to what I wanted. So, perhaps when, if you go through your corporate insurance and there's something there that you'd like to interchange, you can always have a talk and or top up your premium, what you want. And part of that is just being aware and taking that look. Has this episode helped you in any way? And do you think that a day will come when you have health insurance specific to our professions and our lifestyles, maybe even our relationships? Someone going through a divorce should have a specific coverage because they have specific needs there. But it would be great if things started becoming more customized. Do let me know your thoughts. You can write to us at pods@indiatoday.com or you can message us on 8588 And if you enjoyed this episode, please do leave us a rating. We are available on Apple, Spotify, YouTube Music, the India Today website, and other audio streaming platforms. I still remember the first time that I was told I am pre-diabetic. What am I doing wrong?
So the first thing to understand about why this is happening is to understand two factors. One is genetic, the other is the environment.
Are there some steps which you would say are essential for managing diabetes?
Lifestyle management is critical in management of diabetes, and it is important for people to know that diet and exercise do play a very important role in managing their glucose levels. It's small simple steps, it's healthy, following a healthy meal plan and regular physical activity. Diabetes specific nutrition supplement in the form of oral supplement in consultation with a doctor for right nutrition could be one way of management of diabetes. Now, these are designed for diabetes, people with diabetes.
Take a few steps back and then lay what Purvi said a little more in context now. Some things have changed in our understanding of the management of diabetes. First thing is, I don't want to get into the big remission question, but we know that the key to managing diabetes is to help the patient lose weight first. And there the diet, and we know that this can be achieved without medications. And it can be achieved without surgery.